Imagine walking through the quiet streets of Tokyo as the sun dips behind the skyline, painting the city in deep oranges and shadows. Lanterns flicker along narrow alleys, and the air carries a strange mix of calm and anticipation. It's in this surreal moment that a legendary encounter begins to unfold, one that feels almost like stepping into another world. On one side, a martial arts icon whose speed and precision have fascinated generations. On the other, a masterful female samurai whose every movement reflects centuries of tradition and discipline. Both stand poised, and the tension between them is palpable, almost tangible. The beauty of this moment isn't in who might win or lose, but in the clash of two entirely different worlds. One embodies modern martial arts mastery, honed through innovation, instinct, and relentless training. The other carries the spirit of an ancient code, each stance and motion deliberate, a balance of grace and deadly efficiency. There's no rushing here, yet every second feels critical. Every subtle shift of weight, every glimmer of focus in their eyes, tells a story of dedication and skill. You can almost sense the energy in the air, the silent calculation, the mental duel that runs alongside the physical one. What makes this encounter so captivating is the unpredictability. Both are experts in their respective arts, but their approaches could not be more different. One relies on intuition and explosive reaction, striking with speed before an opponent can even react. The other emphasizes strategy and patience, using every movement to guide, deflect, and counter. Watching them prepare is like observing a masterclass in contrasts. Instinct versus discipline, raw speed versus calculated precision, modern innovation versus centuries-old tradition. And yet, there's a strange harmony in the tension. Neither is reckless. Both respect the skill of the other. This isn't about aggression. It's about mastery, anticipation, and the art of combat as a dialogue rather than a fight. The streets of Tokyo become more than just a backdrop. They transform into a stage where every glance, every gesture, and every subtle movement carries weight. It's a scene that makes you lean in closer, almost holding your breath, wondering not just what will happen next, but how two such extraordinary figures will interact in a moment that will be remembered long after it ends. So, as you picture this legendary encounter, ask yourself, what happens when lightning-fast skill meets centuries of tradition? How do two worlds collide? And which lessons of mastery will prevail when instinct meets discipline? That's the question that sets the stage for an unforgettable encounter. The streets of Tokyo at dusk hold a quiet energy that only the city seems capable of producing. Neon lights flicker to life, reflecting off wet cobblestones as a soft drizzle begins to fall. The distant hum of traffic blends with the occasional chatter of pedestrians. Yet a particular alleyway seems untouched by the city's usual rhythm. It's here, away from the crowds and noise, that two figures emerge, drawing the eye even without a single word spoken. One figure moves with a fluid confidence that seems almost effortless. Every step is precise, almost predestined, as if the ground itself knows where to guide him. His eyes are calm, scanning the space ahead and reading every detail of the environment. The curves of the alley, the uneven stones underfoot, even the faintest shifts in air pressure that signal motion. There is an undeniable focus in his posture, a combination of awareness, speed, and readiness that radiates outward, drawing attention without a single movement appearing rushed or forced. Across from him, a female samurai stands with an air of quiet command. She is a study in balance and control, her feet planted firmly on the wet ground, her body coiled like a spring. Every line of her stance communicates discipline. Shoulders relaxed but prepared, hands hovering just above her weapon, eyes narrowing slightly to track even the subtlest shifts in her opponent's stance. Unlike the modern fighter, whose energy seems kinetic and explosive, her presence exudes a calm tension, as though every potential action has already been calculated and accounted for. The contrast between them is striking. Yet there's an unspoken recognition of skill that passes between the two. Neither underestimates the other. Both are aware that a single misstep could determine the flow of the encounter. This is not a casual meeting, and it is certainly not a simple duel. It is a convergence of two very different philosophies of combat, a study in how instinct and discipline, speed and precision can coexist in a moment that seems suspended in time. The alley itself becomes a subtle player in this scene. Its narrow width means there is no room for wide, careless swings, demanding that each motion be intentional. The flickering lanterns cast long, shifting shadows, creating an atmosphere that heightens awareness and adds unpredictability. The sound of water dripping from eaves and the occasional scurry of a distant animal creates a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat, that frames the unfolding moment. The setting is both neutral and charged. Neutral because it doesn't favor one style or another, charged because it amplifies every movement, every decision, every glance. As they prepare, the tension is mirrored by the environment. A soft gust of wind sweeps through the alley, moving loose papers and leaves, providing subtle signals of direction and timing. The distant city life continues, yet in this moment, it feels removed. The focus narrows entirely on the two figures, their breathing, their posture, their readiness. Each second stretches, giving the audience a sense of slow-motion anticipation. The context of a city, the weather, and the alley's narrow confines all combine to create a setting that is immersive, tense, and believable without exaggeration. By presenting the scene this way, viewers are invited to step into it themselves. They can visualize the environment, feel the quiet intensity, and understand that what follows is not just a test of strength, but of awareness, strategy, and reflexes. The careful attention to setting establishes credibility and trust, showing that this encounter is treated thoughtfully rather than sensationally. Finally, the stage is set not just for action, but for reflection. Viewers are encouraged to notice the contrasts, the fluidity versus the precision, the explosive energy versus calm control, and to start forming their own ideas about how such a meeting might unfold. By keeping the setup neutral yet immersive, the audience remains engaged and invested, ready for the next stage where each fighter's strengths will be explored in detail. If you were watching this encounter unfold in person, what detail would capture your attention first? The environment, the fighter's movements, or their focus? Why? Bruce Lee steps forward with a presence that commands attention without the need for words. Even in the dim light of Tokyo's alleyway, his movements carry a sense of purpose and mastery. There's a rhythm to his motion, a subtle balance between readiness and fluidity, as if his body knows instinctively how to respond before the mind even registers the threat. Watching him is like witnessing a perfect combination of discipline, intuition, and athleticism, qualities honed over decades of relentless training and personal experimentation. Every detail of his posture communicates preparation. His shoulders remain relaxed, allowing for rapid rotation and extension. His feet shift lightly, almost imperceptibly, maintaining balance and mobility. Eyes narrow, just enough to take in the opponent, the surroundings, and even the faintest changes in air currents. There's an economy to his movements. Nothing is wasted, nothing exaggerated. Even the smallest gestures, a flick of the wrist or a subtle shift in weight, suggest a readiness to strike, evade, or redirect with precision. What makes him fascinating to observe is how instinct and strategy seem to merge seamlessly. His speed is remarkable, but it's not mere reflex. It's guided by deep understanding of timing and distance. Each step forward or back, each feint or strike, is designed not just to attack, but to read the opponent, to create openings, and to maintain control over the flow of the encounter. Unlike many fighters who rely on brute force, he uses leverage, alignment, and anticipation to maximize the effectiveness of every movement. Even in the quiet moments, he radiates energy, the kind of presence that makes opponents hesitate, if only for a split second. Beyond physical attributes, there's a psychological layer to his mastery. Observing Bruce Lee in action, one can sense his focus is not on aggression, but on adaptability. He seems to anticipate reactions before they happen, adjusting instantly to new variables. The angle of an incoming strike, the shift in an opponent's stance, or the uneven ground beneath him. This combination of observation, timing, and instantaneous adaptation allows him to stay several steps ahead in any confrontation, creating a flow where he appears both reactive and proactive simultaneously. Another defining characteristic is his versatility. His training incorporates multiple techniques and philosophies, blending strikes, parries, and body mechanics into a cohesive whole. There's no reliance on rigid forms. Instead, he adapts principles to each situation. The viewer can imagine how he would respond to the narrow alley, the dim lighting, and the unpredictable movements of a highly skilled opponent. Every detail of his preparation seems to account for the unexpected, reinforcing his reputation not just as a fighter, but as a strategist in motion. Finally, there's an unmistakable charisma in his presence. Even when motionless, he draws attention and conveys confidence without arrogance. It's a quiet authority, one that demands respect because it's earned through skill, experience, and precision. The combination of agility, awareness, instinct, and calculated decision-making paints a picture of a fighter who is both human and extraordinary, someone who can react with lightning speed while maintaining full control over his mind and body. By exploring Bruce Lee in this level of detail, viewers are encouraged to see beyond the surface of mere punches and kicks. They begin to appreciate the mental and physical harmony that defines mastery, and to understand that his skill is not just about strength, but timing, observation, adaptability, and flow. The anticipation builds naturally. Now that we understand his strengths, how will these translate when he faces a master whose skill set comes from centuries of tradition? What aspect of Bruce Lee's style do you find most fascinating? His speed, adaptability, or focus? How do you think that would influence an opponent in a high-stakes encounter? Across the narrow alleyway, the female samurai stands as a vision of calm precision. Every detail of her posture reflects centuries of tradition and discipline, yet she exudes a presence that feels immediate and real, alive in the moment. Unlike a fighter whose strength relies primarily on speed or reaction, her mastery is rooted in technique, strategy, and deliberate intention. There is a sense that every movement, every gesture, has been honed over years of careful training and contemplation. Even before the first strike, it is clear that she embodies the very essence of her art. Her stance is the first thing that draws attention. Feet are firmly planted, grounded with a stability that allows for both offense and defense. The slight bend in her knees, the subtle alignment of her hips, and the poised position of her hands above the weapon suggest readiness without tension. Unlike hurried or exaggerated movements, each shift is measured, almost ritualistic, signaling a control over her own energy and a profound awareness of her surroundings. The katana she carries is not simply a weapon, but an extension of her body, and the way she holds it communicates both elegance and lethal intent. Observing her, one notices the patience embedded in her demeanor. She does not rush. She does not overcommit. Her eyes follow the smallest details in her opponent's motion, reading intention through micro-adjustments in stance, rhythm, and balance. Every twitch, every subtle change provides her with data, cues that allow her to anticipate attacks and exploit openings with precision. Unlike spontaneous or reactive fighters, her approach blends strategy, timing, and calculated risk. There is an art to this patience, a quiet power and restraint that make her movements all the more impactful when they unfold. Her experience with the katana enhances her ability to manage space and distance. The length of the weapon allows her to control engagements before an opponent can reach her effectively. Yet it is not brute force that defines her style. It is timing, alignment, and flow. The weapon moves almost instinctively, deflecting strikes, creating openings, and guiding the opponent's momentum into controlled patterns. Every motion appears effortless, yet it is backed by an immense depth of knowledge and practice. She embodies the principle that skill and control outweigh sheer power, demonstrating a philosophy that turns restraint into advantage. In addition to technique, there is a psychological element to her mastery. Her calm demeanor is intimidating, not through aggression, but through the quiet confidence of someone who understands the balance of combat and control. She projects authority without raising her voice, and her presence alone communicates that every move is deliberate, every reaction purposeful. This psychological layer adds another dimension to the encounter. The opponent is not only facing skill and weaponry, but also the mental discipline that accompanies years of rigorous training. What makes her particularly compelling is how she integrates movement and environment into her strategy. Narrow alleyways, uneven ground, and subtle changes in light or footing all become factors she can exploit. Her anticipation is not limited to the opponent's physical actions, but extends to spatial dynamics and environmental variables, turning surroundings into extensions of her tactical thinking. This makes her unpredictable, even in a situation where her adversary is lightning fast or instinct-driven. Her combination of precision, patience, strategy, and psychological presence forms a portrait of a fighter whose mastery is both traditional and timeless. Observers can recognize her skill not only in the sharpness of her strikes or the elegance of her stance, but also in the harmony between mind, body, and environment. She does not act rashly, yet when she moves, it is with authority, control, and lethal grace. By examining her qualities in detail, viewers gain a deep appreciation for the philosophical and tactical aspects of mastery. Her presence in this encounter emphasizes that skill is more than speed or strength. It is about anticipation, control, and integrating centuries of knowledge into each decision. As the alleyway tension builds, the contrast between her calm precision and Bruce Lee's explosive, adaptive style becomes ever more compelling. It is this interplay of philosophy, approach, and execution that sets the stage for the encounter to become legendary, not just for the clash of skill, but for the meeting of two worlds. If you had to pick one advantage in a duel between instinct and discipline, which would you value more, adaptability or strategy? How do you think it changes the outcome? The first movement is subtle, almost imperceptible. Bruce Lee shifts his weight forward, testing distance and reaction. Across the alley, the female samurai adjusts her stance with a calm fluidity, feet grounded, eyes focused, katana poised. It is not a rush, nor a hesitation. It is the quiet tension of two masters feeling out one another. This is where the encounter truly begins, a battle of anticipation as much as of technique, where every gesture carries meaning, and every motion becomes a potential opening or a trap. Unlike a conventional fight, this is not about immediate contact. It is a dance of perception and timing. Bruce Lee's movements are sharp, explosive, and adaptive. His strikes are precise, yet each feint and shift is designed to elicit a response. He reads subtle micro-changes in the samurai's balance and posture, adjusting his approach in fractions of a second. The audience can almost feel the tension in the air, the moment stretched thin as thought, instinct, and skill collide in real time. The samurai's reaction is equally fascinating. Her defense is not passive, it is anticipatory. Each motion of the katana deflects potential attacks, while subtly redirecting momentum. She exploits the alley's narrow confines, controlling the space around her with a combination of positioning, timing, and environmental awareness. Her movements are economical, almost elegant, yet deadly, a perfect demonstration of precision over brute force. Every adjustment is a calculated response to Bruce Lee's unpredictability, creating a rhythm that balances offense and defense. As the encounter progresses, the contrast between instinct and discipline becomes apparent. Bruce Lee relies on speed and adaptive improvisation, shifting stances, varying strikes, and responding dynamically to the samurai's counters. He probes, testing reactions, creating openings, and pulling the opponent into patterns. Meanwhile, the samurai anticipates, leveraging centuries of tactical principles, controlling distance, and guiding each movement to maintain strategic advantage. The clash is not violent chaos. It is a dialogue, a conversation conducted through body mechanics, timing, and awareness. The environment itself amplifies the tension. Shadows stretch and shift as lanterns flicker, puddles reflect movement, and uneven ground demands constant micro-adjustments. Bruce Lee's agility allows him to exploit sudden opportunities, while the samurai's grounding ensures stability and control. Every footstep, every subtle motion becomes part of the choreography. The audience senses that the encounter is as much about reading, reacting, and predicting as it is about raw strikes or speed. Psychological tension is equally high. Neither fighter overcommits, yet each projects confidence that challenges the other. Bruce Lee's explosive presence pushes the samurai to anticipate and respond instantly, while her calm, deliberate precision forces him to adjust his strategies. Each fighter gains insight into the other, creating a mental duel layered on top of the physical exchange. The alleyway becomes a crucible for intellect, instinct, and discipline, blending into a spectacle that is riveting even without a single strike landing fully. This interpretive clash emphasizes contrasts over outcomes. Speed versus strategy, instinct versus discipline, modern martial mastery versus traditional philosophy, all collide simultaneously. Yet the scene is balanced. No single attribute dominates. Instead, viewers are encouraged to witness the interplay, notice the subtle counters, and appreciate the artistry in each movement. This balance keeps the audience engaged, prompting reflection on how skill, preparation, and adaptability intersect in high-level encounters. Finally, anticipation is heightened by uncertainty. Neither fighter reveals the full extent of their capabilities immediately, ensuring that every moment holds suspense. The encounter feels alive and unpredictable, compelling viewers to imagine the next sequence, the next counter, or the next subtle shift. It is a perfect moment of tension, where imagination, analysis, and engagement converge, drawing the audience deeper into the experience. As the tension of the encounter reaches its peak, it becomes clear that neither speed nor precision alone can dominate this duel. Bruce Lee's fluidity, agility, and adaptive reflexes contrast sharply with the samurai master's discipline, calculated timing, and strategic control of distance. Each has strengths that counterbalance the others, creating a dynamic equilibrium where the fight is defined less by a decisive strike and more by mastery, anticipation, and skillful application of principles. This is a moment for reflection, a chance to analyze without judgment, to consider how two extraordinary approaches meet in equilibrium. Bruce Lee's advantage lies in his adaptability. His instinctive movements allow him to respond to unexpected situations almost instantly, blending offense and defense into a continuous flow. The audience can appreciate the subtlety of his approach. A quick shift of weight here, a feint there, testing the opponent's reactions and looking for opportunities. His style thrives on unpredictability, keeping the opponent guessing and constantly adjusting. This mental agility, combined with explosive speed, makes him an exceptionally difficult adversary to anticipate, even for a highly trained and disciplined fighter. Conversely, the female samurai's mastery is grounded in precision and control. Every action is deliberate. Every movement has a purpose, and her strategy emphasizes anticipation over reaction. By controlling the environment and managing distance, she reduces the risk of being overwhelmed by sheer speed. Her calm demeanor projects confidence and mental stability, which can subtly influence the opponent's timing and decision-making. The audience sees that discipline, awareness, and centuries of refined technique can create a formidable advantage, even against a more spontaneous and fast-moving opponent. When analyzed side by side, it becomes evident that both fighters excel in complementary ways. Bruce Lee's agility and adaptability give him the ability to create openings and respond dynamically, while the samurai's calculated control and experience allow her to capitalize on mistakes and maintain strategic superiority. Neither is invincible, and neither holds a guaranteed advantage. Instead, the encounter becomes a demonstration of balance, a meeting of instinct and discipline, spontaneity and preparation, modern innovation and traditional mastery. This balanced approach also helps the audience engage critically. Viewers are encouraged to consider factors beyond mere physical power, how timing, strategy, environment, and psychological presence shape a duel. It reinforces the idea that mastery is multifaceted and success depends on more than raw ability. Considering both adaptability and precision, which skill do you think is more critical in a high-stakes encounter, and why? As the encounter reaches its quiet climax, the alleyway seems to hold its breath. Bruce Lee and the female samurai, two masters from vastly different traditions, stand facing one another, each fully aware of the other's skill. There is no rush, no desperate attempt to strike. Instead, the moment is defined by a shared understanding of respect, anticipation, and the artistry of combat itself. It is not a duel meant to end with a clear victor, but a convergence of philosophy, instinct, and precision, a legendary encounter that lingers in the mind long after the scene fades. The beauty of this conclusion lies in the balance of contrasts. Bruce Lee's lightning-fast reflexes and adaptive movements have been tested against the samurai's measured strategy and precise execution. Both have demonstrated mastery in their own right, yet the fight remains unresolved in the traditional sense. Instead of a dramatic finish, the audience witnesses an ongoing exchange of skill and philosophy, an interaction where both fighters push each other to the limits of their craft. This open-endedness allows viewers to imagine countless possibilities. One move that could have turned the tide, one subtle adjustment that might have changed the rhythm, one glance or hesitation that could have made all the difference. The narrative encourages reflection on what truly defines mastery. It is not raw power, nor speed alone, nor the ability to overpower an opponent. Rather, it is a harmony of awareness, adaptability, precision, and mental discipline. Bruce Lee's movements showcase how instinct and responsiveness create opportunities in real time, while the samurai exemplifies how centuries of technique, patience, and strategic thinking can shape the flow of an encounter. By leaving the outcome unresolved, the audience is invited to weigh these factors themselves and engage with the story in a deeper, more personal way. At the same time, the environment continues to play a subtle but crucial role. The dim light of the alley, the shifting shadows from lanterns, and the uneven stones beneath their feet all remain part of the narrative. Each element interacts with the fighter's movements, reminding viewers that skill is not exercised in isolation. Context matters. It is in this interplay of character, environment, and philosophy that the encounter becomes truly memorable. Every footstep, every shift of weight, every pause conveys meaning, contributing to a sense of tension and drama without needing any exaggeration. The open-ended close also strengthens engagement by inviting viewers to reflect on their own perspectives. Who would they favor if the encounter continued? Which skills resonate more with them? The adaptability of a modern martial artist or the discipline of a traditional samurai? By not offering a definitive answer, the story empowers the audience to take part in the narrative mentally, creating an interactive experience that extends beyond the video itself. Finally, the conclusion emphasizes respect and admiration for both fighters. There is no triumph or defeat, only acknowledgement of extraordinary skill and the remarkable contrast of two worlds meeting. It encourages viewers to appreciate the artistry in combat, the philosophy behind movement, and the balance of instinct and discipline. In leaving the encounter unresolved, the narrative achieves a dual effect. It preserves suspense and intrigue, while also providing a thoughtful, reflective close that honors the fighter's mastery.